I think it's a common myth that the holiday will just create this closeness. It's not going to create the cracks, but it will reveal where the pressure points are.
So a couple's holiday sounds romantic until you're tired, you're lost and arguing over where to eat. So do holidays bring out the worst in us? And is the first trip away really a compatibility test for a new couple? I'm Jennifer Zamparelli and this is Just Between Us. And today on the podcast, psychotherapist Síle Uí Chiaráin is here to help us keep a minor disagreement from becoming an international incident. But first, Darren is here. Darren, we're going to chat about couples holidays and how to avoid absolute nightmares. But you're back from a singles holiday.
Yes.
Go on.
Yeah, do you know what? It was a lot less exciting than it sounds. It was single. I was on holiday with myself, so I didn't actually meet any other single people.
So sorry, it was just a lone holiday.
Yeah.
Okay. So you didn't go away with a group of single people?
Me and my personalities.
You yourself.
And I.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was it?
I loved it.
Where'd you go?
Booked the holiday. I went to Fungarola. Booked the flight on Thursday and I flew Friday morning, and for a week it was absolutely magical. I did nothing. I went to the beach. I sat in the balcony.
Was this your first time doing a lone holiday?
No, seasoned single, me and my
Okay.
personalities holidayer. Yeah, and I love it. I actually think it'd probably be a problem now to go on holiday with someone else because I've forgotten what it's like to have to, put someone else into my plans.
Would you believe I only did it recently? I went away to a hotel for a couple of nights and I was by myself. No kids, no husband, no friends. I had every opportunity to ask them to come with me, but I thought, no, because I've never done it before. And it was amazing.
Did you?
I absolutely loved it. And I remember sharing it on social media and the amount of people that got back to me going, I've been doing it for years. I did my first one. It is the most amazing thing ever. But it did feel a bit weird initially, I was on completely my own time frame.
Yeah.
No one to answer to, completely making decisions for myself, where to eat, where to go, what to do, which was really freeing and liberating. Do you remember the first time you did it? Because a week is a long time.
Yeah.
Like I did a couple of days, but a week.
No.
Did you get bored?
No.
Okay.
I'm so used to myself now that I literally am nearly talking to myself. So I'm like... But the first time, I keep saying if I can do it, anybody can do it. Because as I've said to you before, I was a serial relationships person. So I was always used to being around people or being around friends. But as I'm in my 30s now, all my friends are getting married and having kids. So I'm like, if I don't do it on my own, I'm not going to wait for people to break up or get divorced, So I think the first time I did it, I can't really actually remember because I feel like I've been doing it for the last 5 years or so. But the first one that was like my eat, pray, love was in Central America and Colombia. And that's where I was like, I wasn't just by myself, but I was happy in my own company.
Okay.
There's kind of a difference between being on your own just because you're like, I want to prove a point that I can be, and being on your own and being content and being on your own as well. So I feel like that was the first time that I was like,
Amazing.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Is there any time on the holiday where you think, I wish I was with someone, or are you just completely content on your own?
I wouldn't mind a little dancing partner.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the only time. The rest of it, I'm like, I'm grand. And that's being honest. You know what I'd love to go away with my friends, or I tried to force my mum to come with me, but she was like, it's too hot.
And she was right.
Yeah.
Tell us about couples holidays then. You broke up with someone on a
did.
couples holiday?
Yeah.
So that went well.
Yeah. Do you know what? It was probably, it doesn't sound ideal, but in relationships, I think I was kind of avoidant. So at least at that time, there was no escape. We had to communicate. We had to talk about what's after going wrong. And more so for me, because I find it hard to actually say what was wrong. And it all bubbles up and then I'm like, it's over. And had we been at home, it would have been, it's over.
There's too many distractions at home.
And I'm out of here. I'm gone back to my home.
Yeah.
Whereas we were on holidays, we're in this hotel room, we're having it out.
Yeah. In the middle of a holiday or
In the-
towards the end? Did you at least wait till the last day before you got on the flight? No. Oh,
it
no,
just
Darren.
happened. Yeah. And it was something I think that was kind of bubbling up beforehand. And then you put alcohol into the mix. That's wonderful when you're, having the few glasses of wine during the day. But as the day goes on, there was a big row. And I was like, okay, that's it. I'm done now. And then I remember the next morning it was like, is this still, are we
Off.
still off? Yeah. And I was still like,
Logistically, what did you do? Did you get another hotel room? Did you just wait it out? Did you avoid each other for the rest of the week?
no, it was strange. Like we really communicated then. And I communicated what I was feeling with them. And I felt safe kind of being away. I don't know. I'm like, nothing ever makes sense in,
Darren's
my little world.
No.
As I'm saying it, I'm like, maybe don't do that. But yeah, it was grand. And we talked it all out. We were stuck together. And by the end, it was actually like we have known each other better than we did beforehand.
Was there any inkling to get back after that?
Not at that time.
Really?
No, we stayed. Yeah, it was the most awkward drive from the airport with my
I can
sister.
imagine.
She was like, what have you done?
Was he in the car as well? Oh my God. She gave him a lift as well. Oh my God.
But it was nobody's fault. It was a long time ago. And I think, well, obviously it was his fault, but.
Yeah, of course. It's definitely his fault.
But it was so amicable
Yeah.
in the end, because it was like, this is actually what's wrong. And maybe we wouldn't have had the opportunity at home to do it. So break up with your partners when you go abroad
In the
next
middle of a
time.
holiday.
Yeah.
And I
Maybe
bet
more
you,
towards
where
the end.
do you want to mention where it was? The country at least?
España.
Spain.
Yeah.
Well, you went back to Spain.
I did, yeah. Big fan. And it was actually the same place.
Same place. There we go. So it won't put you off the entire country.
No.
Okay.
So
Thanks for that, Darren.
no problem.
So before things heat up, a little love for our sponsor, Kildare Village. We're all for sparks flying when the curtains are closed. But sure, look, it's no harm to take yourself out for a bit of excitement too. With over 100 boutiques, including 60 you won't find anywhere else in Ireland, a visit to Kildare Village is shopping that's so Irish. Síle, you are very, very welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for doing this.
My absolute pleasure. It's great to be here.
Can you give people just a bit of a background about yourself?
I will indeed. So I was a teacher for 30 years and I had retrained as a psychotherapist. I was straddling both worlds for a short while. And then I decided at one point to jump ship. I retired early and I've been working in my private practice amongst other things for about the last 7 years now.
Okay, 7 years. A lot of couples therapy, a lot of people coming to you wanting to work on their relationship.
Yeah, presently a lot of couples. Over the years, everything, every shape and form of people needing to understand why they're feeling sad or down or despondent or disappointed by life, and just really needing to do an emotional needs audit and start from there to see how am I not meeting my basic emotional needs more healthily.
It must be so fulfilling to get a couple to that place of feeling content or feeling happy in a relationship. I know it can be a long road for a lot of couples, but it always feels such a positive thing when I hear that there's a lot of people or a lot of couples seeking therapy. It means they're willing to work at it, because let's be honest, relationships can be work.
Yeah, and it's a practice, not a mandate.
Yeah.
When you share a space with somebody and you hope to share that living space in harmony, you really need to be open to flexibility and you need to not be afraid of conflict.
Can I just ask you, before we get into holidays and relationships and, couples going on holidays, is there particularly vulnerable times in a relationship around a certain age that couples need to be aware of?
I'm not sure that I would align trouble, danger, triggers to chronological age, particularly nowadays.
I'm very aware that a lot of problems or things can occur around this time of my life that I need to be aware of, I need to be conscious of, and I just feel like I'm constantly making sure the shit doesn't hit the fan.
But that's interesting. You said mid-years, so I'm way beyond mid-years. I'm very, very post-menopausal, if that's the benchmark. I'm 32 years married, 40 years with my partner. So all of those things are, and I actually did a post recently, which got huge traction, where I said, third marriage, first husband.
Why do you think that was?
In the very beginning, my husband and I would have had kind of the cornerstone relationship. We were building the house together and we were having the babies and we were planning and garnering and harvesting all that we could in the morning of our lives. And then we kind of have the capstone relationship whereby, well, we've been there, done that. We don't need to do that again, but we really need to work on experience. And so the afternoon of your life is a very different experience for a relationship.
Things are really good, but the internet keeps telling me that it's going to fall off a cliff very, very soon.
Yeah,
so
I wouldn't
I'm just
listen
being
to it. Yeah, I call BS on that. I call BS on that and all the memes and everything. Although we are quite, we're vulnerable to those. We can be vulnerable to those when we're not feeling strong in ourselves, you know. And if you're feeling strong in yourself, you won't even read those things.
Can we talk about holidays?
Please do.
And relationships. Do you remember your first holiday with your partner?
I do. Yes. So if I say my first holiday, now listen, you're going back a very long time. Like really, seriously. Yeah, it's a different world. So I went to Germany when I was I maybe 17, 18 max, to be with my then boyfriend, and I went over for the summer.
That's a long time to go to be with a new boyfriend.
Yeah, no.
A whole summer.
Okay. So here's the thing.
Go on.
Confessionals.
Go on.
So here's the thing. In those days, in the olden days, you weren't allowed, you see, to be with your partner. And the presumption was that you wouldn't be, particularly if you were a teacher in training, you know. And we spent those lovely summers in Germany together. And it was where we really got to know each other. I remember the vulnerability. I actually, as it so happens, was a very, very anxious young girl. And I found it very difficult, very exposing, very revealing. And I had quite a piece of work to do on myself psychologically, just to cope with the closeness and, you know, very low self-esteem, finding it very difficult to feel my value and my worth. And I think people, when they go off on holidays together, still find all of those exposures are very challenging, depending on their strength of person.
A lot can unravel on a holiday. But on that holiday in Germany, you're spending a lot of time with this person. When you landed back in Ireland, did you know he was the one? Because you'd had such an incredible experience for such a young age.
Yes, it was amazing. We worked, it was fabulous. So we were out of home, we were working in another country, earning dosh. I was at college, so it gave me great independence then for paying my own way the next year. It was quite avant-garde in all those years ago, and it is really a different Ireland. I was in love from the get-go.
Okay.
My husband wasn't, but I was.
Okay, but you convinced him in the end.
Yeah. Bettered him up the aisle. I bettered him up the aisle. And here we are all these years later to tell the tale.
Amazing, amazing. But holidays, they can be quite triggering. They can make or break a relationship. How do two people book the exact same holiday and somehow arrive expecting two completely different holidays?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a common myth that the holiday will just create this closeness. Because apart from anything else, your chronotype is very exposed when you're on holidays. When you're at home, you can have your lie-in and your partner doesn't need to know that you're only feeling in great shape today because you lay in till 11. If you're a late riser, it could be a real trigger for your partner if they're an early riser. The lovely thing about a holiday is that it's not going to create the cracks, but it will reveal where the pressure points are. And if you're invested, and depending on how much skin you have in the game and how much you like the person, you'll work on that. If you haven't got a lot of life experience and maybe it's your first ever holiday with a romantic partner, and you mightn't just have the confidence to say, well, look, this is what relaxation looks like to me. Or, you know, what are our budgeting plans?
Yeah.
You know,
who's paying for what?
Yeah.
Who's booking dinner? So how important are those conversations before you go on holiday?
Important.
Okay.
You know, call it a holiday contract if you like. And, you know, don't presume roles because of gender or because of shyness. Try and come out of yourself and have the conversations. Don't presume it's going to be there just because you think it up.
It's a minefield, really. So we would love to hear what you think about Just Between Us. Your feedback helps us make the podcast even better, and it only takes a minute. As a thank you, you'll be entered into a draw to win a €500 one-for-all voucher. All you have to do is head over to mypodcastfeedback.com and enter the code US. Thanks so much for listening and for helping. Money can be tricky, especially if you're not married or you're together that long. Even if you are together long, if you're going away together, you know, the finance of it all surely has to be discussed over a glass of wine or something. It doesn't have to be a clinical like this, like in front of each other in a table, like a board meeting. But surely the finance has to be discussed.
Yeah, I actually, I'll take that and I'll raise you one. I would say it does need to be chatted about kind of at the boardroom table. Personally, my own personal opinion on the issue is do a fund, share. And if you go on a nice holiday nowadays, it's not a big deal to sit together and to say, well, look, will we throw 500 quid each into a Vault and Revolut, and then we'll pay for all of our shared expenses, everything.
Job done.
But, I think that takes the pressure off. So as soon as you can have that conversation.
And this is so important on holidays, isn't it? Because, the flight might be delayed, nobody's eaten, the hotel looks nothing like it does in the photos. How quickly can the worst version of us come galloping out?
Yeah. Conflict isn't the enemy of intimacy. Conflict is going to happen. It's inevitable. Disconnection would be the danger. In a relationship, if there's got criticism, contempt, defensiveness or stonewalling, you're very likely to be in a state of distress. Mm-hmm. So if you can have that common language, it's really helpful to try and chat your way out of it and converse your way out of it. You can. So how early would you notice the signs? I think as early as you are not feeling safe in yourself, your basic emotional needs are feeling less than met healthily. And I think then it's very easy to criticize the person as opposed to maybe a gentle startup like, I feel sad and lonely when we don't come back together in the evening after getting dressed with the same high we had when we booked the holiday first. Instead, you're always like this. You're all full of plans and then you get here and you're useless. You tank. It's always the same. That's not going to help. So the gentle startup of I feel is much safer.
I need to use that when I'm in the car on a long journey with my husband. I feel you're being unkind to cyclists instead of stop giving out about cyclists. Because it can be tricky. It can be tricky. So that's a good thing to remember. As soon as you're feeling that in yourself, in your stomach, in your gut, maybe change the language or use kinder language.
So if your husband is feeling a little bit disgruntled at the cyclist, if you bring your chaos to his chaos, it's a perfect storm. Whereas if you can bring your calm to his chaos at that moment, I feel, yeah. And then, of course, have the conversation, a bit like holidays, have the conversation in advance if you possibly can.
Okay. Huge pressure for new relationships on holidays. Like we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of pressure for it to be this amazing thing. And you mentioned something there that I never really thought about. It is under scrutiny from all our friends and family because we all see the pictures, we're all judging the videos. Would you be more worried about a couple who are posting too much or posting, not enough? Which couple would you be more worried about?
Yeah, it can be a huge point of disgruntlement. And I think a conversation can save the day.
Money.
Phones.
Alcohol.
Yes. Yeah.
This can be an issue on holidays.
Of course.
Right.
Of course. It's an issue anyway.
Of course.
And again, that's one that traverses the generations. It's not as revealed when you're at home. It's all very private and your experiences are quite curated and planned. But if you don't have the language, it can spell disaster.
Just speaking of disaster, what if because of an alcohol-induced situation, something happened, a really bad argument, they did something really embarrassing? I mean, how do you deal with that on a holiday?
It happens.
Yeah.
It's very real. So I would say to exit with dignity. Exit language is really important if that's the case. Big, huge arguments that happen in alcohol can be surmounted. Again, you mightn't have a relationship issue, you might have a conversation issue the next day if you don't know how to repair the rupture. Ruptures will happen all the time. And that is not spelling the end. And the alcohol makes it quite difficult to see the wood for the trees.
Okay. And going back to, we talked about new relationships and younger couples. How important are those getaways for, I'm not going to say older, well, slightly older, let's say, than the 20-year-olds. How important are those getaways for couples? Because it can be tricky when you have family and kids and responsibilities, and the family holiday always happens. But what about those? How important are those weekends away and those trips away?
Hugely important. I don't believe that any relationship, particularly one decade after the next, remains the same. When a relationship is feeling like it's not as good as it possibly can be, if you work on you and I work on me, the relationship will look after itself. It's really important to be able to get a wee break for yourself. I think it's very important that hubby can go playing his golf or on his cycling holiday. Or whatever hubby likes to do, and that you're absolutely free and blessed and endorsed to go away and have your girly break. So whether that's, a shopping afternoon or a night away or a weekend away or a girly week, whatever the case may be, those breaks are important for individuals. I think they're hugely important for couples. And whether that is an afternoon away without the kids or a weekend away or a midweek break, something cheap and cheerful if needs be, but it's just to get back to the drawing board and realise what's going on for us. Are we good? What's working? And I do like to talk about the glimmers, not the triggers all the time. What's working? What am I doing presently that you're liking?
Do you think there's more pressure to have lots of sex on holiday?
When you're freer and more rested, all of that frees up capacity for enjoying your intimacy and also for fun and exploration, which maybe you don't have time or space for at home because smallies are next door.
Another good reason to go on holiday.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When you've got smallies next door, very hard to be your free, intimate self. If you want to be very expressive in your sexual space and your space of intimacy, not helpful if somebody's going to walk in because they need a drink.
Mom, I need a snack.
Yeah, or even if it's not a knock on the door, like if it's just straight in.
Which has happened.
Happened. Absolutely.
So it's very important for that reconnection and not necessarily, intercourse, but intimacy. Intimacy.
Yeah, intimacy is the smiling, Jen. It's, but that's where the holiday contract can really help. What would you love to get out of this? Well, can I suggest to you that we look at each other when we're having our meals? Because at home you'll find people are shoulder to shoulder. But if you look across at somebody and you say to yourself, well, maybe once a day, one of our eating experiences a day, will we just not talk, but will we look at each other? Because when you look at somebody for long enough, your nervous systems sync and you see into their soul. And it's sometimes in the silent spaces, you get the chance to hear what somebody's really saying on the inside and words are getting in the way.
Beautiful. I'm going to try that tonight.
It's lovely.
Chicken Kiev.
And it can also be really helpful then for intimacy. You can carry that on. There are lots of lovely practices that I encourage people to engage in, and some of them are the silent practices.
Oh, go on.
It's
really?
Lovely. Well, yeah, sometimes a really good place to start is to just listen. Have one evening this week before you come back to me, where when you have your meal, even if the kids are running around, that you have a secret agenda to just look at each other, find each other's eyes and try and hold the gaze until you can see each other's heart. And it's a really lovely opportunity to be really deeply intimate. And even if that's not the night where you have intercourse, the silent togetherness is really helpful. And then the next day, gently find your words.
That'll be really tricky for my husband because he never shuts up, but I'll give it a go. Thank you so much. That was so insightful.
My pleasure. Garcade Maigat.
I'm Jennifer Zamparelli, and thanks for listening to Just Between Us. Now, if you love this episode, do us a massive favour. Hit follow, leave us a 5-star review. Sure, go on. And share this with that friend who desperately needs to hear it. You know exactly which one I'm talking about. Today's podcast was produced by John Byrne, recorded by Alan Kelly, with sound design by Rory Bone.
We want to earn your trust and are members of the Trust Project. See our ethics policies at independent.ie/our journalism.